The world of cinema has always been at the forefront of innovation. From the silent films of the 1920s to the groundbreaking CGI spectacles of today, technology has always helped shape the way we tell stories. But now there's a new force unlike anything before that could either become a powerful tool or a massive threat to the industry as a whole. So in this video, we'll be exploring the pros and cons of artificial intelligence and what it could mean for the future of cinema. Let's dive in. If you're anything like me, then you've probably become a bit annoyed at all the artificial intelligence talk, especially when there's not a true AI program or tool out there. Much of the hype we see today is around large language models and generative AI, which are basically tools that take a bunch of data, then use a prompt to produce an outcome. Unlike true AI, which could learn and function completely on its own without input from humans. Even though I find all of this quote-unquote AI talk to be a bit exhausting, as a lover of movies and an artist myself, it's hard to ignore that it has the potential to impact the industry in massive ways. I mean, just last year, the Writers Guild of America went on strike for 148 days, making it the second longest labor stoppage by the WGA. They went on strike for a few different reasons, and one of the biggest topics was AI. Writers didn't want programs like ChatGPT to completely replace them and only be used as a tool instead. The strike ended with a deal, and it's been agreed that studios and production companies must not only disclose to writers about the use of AI, but also that AI cannot be credited as a writer, it cannot write or rewrite literary material, and AI-generated writing cannot be source material, which is a pretty solid win for writers. But there are still tons of other areas within the industry that these tools and programs could impact. We hear a lot about what AI and large language models can do both good and bad for the industry, but I wanted to hear more directly from people currently working in the industry. So I reached out to several friends who are working on films and TV shows right now to get their thoughts and experiences with these tools and programs being used on sets, in production offices, and in post houses. Almost every single person that I spoke to said that it is being used in small instances, but the bigger impact has yet to be seen. My friend John mentioned that he's seen it used on LED volume stage work to create backgrounds for vehicles driving, as well as simulate backgrounds for green and blue screen effects. Another friend, Colin, who works in the art department, has seen attempts to use it to create stock images in set dressing, but they often run into issues getting clearances since these programs don't really tell you where the original photos are being pulled from. As an editor and sound designer myself, I have seen tools such as Adobe's Audio Enhancer used to do basic audio cleanup, improvements to Adobe's tracking tool when doing things like wanting text to stay in place during a moving shot, and programs like Descript that allow you to generate AI voices.
If you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing.
There's no denying that these programs are getting better each and every day. The ones that are geared towards being a tool, I find to have way more potential over programs that are trying to do the creative work. Even with that being said, we should be cautious of how much we rely on these tools and how we actually use them. The other day I was reading an article that talked about how the industry could use AI to analyze audience preferences and societal trends. The writer of the article, Sahota, states that this could help suggest storylines and genres that are likely to resonate with viewers. I personally don't think that this is the approach and could be a tool that harms the industry more than it helps it, because it could force filmmakers into certain boxes and stories. It could even make them reconsider wanting to make specific films. Yes, there are certainly genres and storylines that people want to see, but Hollywood already has a problem of putting out very cookie-cutter films that try to hit on everything because the data the studios collected told them that that is what people like, so it's what they need to make. In all fairness, the big studios have always chased the money and trends rather than the creativity and out-of-box ideas. Sometimes unique films do squeeze through the Hollywood system, but an approach like this would definitely prevent that from happening even more. Independent filmmakers could also fall into the trap of relying on a program like this too much and miss out on opportunities to tell the stories they actually care about. Over the last few weeks, I've been watching numerous AI short films, trailers for upcoming feature films that have used AI, as well as a movie that claims to be the first feature-length film created by AI. One of the most noticeable aspects of all the films I've watched is how uncanny everything looks. This will obviously get better and better over time, but it's certainly jarring no matter how many of these films I watched. This, however, is a tiny complaint compared to the biggest issue I see in all of these films that claim to use AI. The true issue with these projects is that they completely lack any real substance. They feel a lot more like montages that hit a bunch of surface level points and never go further than that. This seems like a flaw that will be extremely difficult and almost impossible to ever overcome because AI will never experience something real or feel the emotions that we do as humans. We're impacted most by the films that we can relate to. Whether a film evokes certain emotions, inspires us in some way, or teaches us a valuable lesson. The filmmakers behind the movies that we love are able to craft stories that we relate to because they have experienced those emotions or similar events themselves. The human connection we often see in cinema is something that AI will never fully be capable of achieving because it's simply not human. When you watch a movie that you can feel the filmmakers have poured their hearts into with complete passion, that's something AI just can't replicate, and I don't think we should want it to. I do absolutely see the benefits of using programs that can speed up or eliminate the tedious tasks of making a film. Skywalker Sound, part of Lucasfilm, has started using AI to categorize their sounds, allowing them to find what they need much quicker. This way, someone doesn't have to go one by one through thousands of sounds in their library and do this all manually. Using AI in this way will allow for the focus to be more on the creative choices. There are other programs that could also help filmmakers with smaller budgets accomplish things that would have been impossible before. Whether it's simply making more fleshed out storyboards to help filmmakers see their vision better, enhance visual effects, or literally help create an imaginary world. It's just important that we don't rely on AI to do everything, especially the things that only humans can put into films that make them authentic and unique. If we're going to use these tools, we must work side by side with them to simply enhance and benefit the stories we want to tell and help us make our creative choices reality. If we forget this, then we will start to lose the magic of what makes movies so impactful and important. A few nights ago, I sat down and watched Where the Robots Grow, an animated film that claims to be the first feature-length movie created by AI. Now, if you've seen it, you'll know that it's not purely created by AI. There's actually a crew behind the film, including actors, motion caption actors, visual effects artists, 3D artists, and several others. I personally was not a fan of the film because, similar to all the short films I watched, I found it to be lacking any depth and it felt really clunky in a lot of areas. The story is bland, visually it's pretty boring, and just overall feels a lot longer than its 88-minute runtime. Initially, I had very little respect for this film and was just going to write it off as an example of how not to use AI to create a movie. Then I came across an interview with the writer and director of the film, Tom Patton. This interview by no means changed my mind on the problems I have with the film, but it did make me look at it differently. The director talks about how they used AI to enhance basically everything in the film, whether it's backgrounds, retexturing models, creating music, and much more. I was pleasantly surprised that he also believes AI should be a tool, but not remove humans from the process. He brings up a solid point that the film industry wouldn't exist without technology.
Somebody invented cameras, somebody invented lights in the late 19th century, and then for 10 years people are figuring it out. How do you put them together? What is editing? What's the language of cinema? We are a technological industry, make no doubt, You know, the only reason film as an art form exists is because of technology.
And that using AI is the next evolution. It's hard for me to even accept this fully, but as stated previously, there are certainly benefits to using it, and as filmmakers, we should explore new ways to innovate the art form that we love. This isn't to say we should eliminate everything we've learned in the past, but rather that we should be pioneers in using this technology and figuring out ways it can help us be more creative and tell stories even better. Patton talks about how these programs can give independent filmmakers the ability to compete with higher budget studio films. He compares using AI to earlier innovations that some of the most iconic filmmakers achieved and how we could be on the forefront of reshaping the industry forever. And the more I think about the points he makes in that interview, the more I do see the potential that AI has to offer to filmmakers across the industry. If it's going to truly reshape the world of cinema, then maybe it's worth embracing and using to our advantage. Even though I do have concerns when it comes to AI making its way into the world of film, I also see the potential benefits it has to offer. The film industry has always been innovative, and if this is the next evolution for it, then the filmmakers of today could be looked back on as the pioneers of this chapter. If we remember that these tools are not the art itself, but rather a new way to achieve the stories we want to tell, then maybe embracing it isn't so bad after all. I guess time will truly tell what its actual impact will be. I just hope it's for the good. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the entire AI situation and how you think it could change the industry, whether that's for the good, the bad, or a little bit of both. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.